And welcome to today's European SharePoint Office 365 and Azure Community webinar. My name is Laura and I am delighted to be joined by Sofie Borck Janeheim, Technical Specialist, Low Code, Microsoft Sweden, who will present the topic, Enable Everyone to Innovate with Low Code. Remember to join in on the conversation about today's webinar on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @EuropeanSP and our hashtag is ESPC23. Don't forget to check out the Resource Centre. This is updated daily with the latest blogs, ebooks, webinars, and how-to videos. Simply visit sharepointeurope.com and click the Content tab at the top. Continue your learning by joining us for our next webinar, Solving Business Problems Using Machine Learning in Power BI, which takes place tomorrow, the 24th of January, from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. CET. For full details, please check out sharepointeurope.com/Power Platform Week. Hybrid work presents new challenges for engaging, motivating, and growing our workforce. Business leaders and IT pros have an opportunity to partner on a more advanced digital experience where people, content, and AI intertwine. At this informative keynote session from ESPC 22, Jeff gave an update on Microsoft's strategy and roadmap for Teams, Viva Syntex, OneDrive, SharePoint, lists, and much more. Watch the recap for demos, customer voice, and special offerings across Microsoft 365, covering innovations for end users, developers, and IT pros. Please visit sharepointeurope.com for the full recording of this keynote session. The European Power Platform Conference 2023 is coming to Dublin. Join us from the 20th to the 22nd of June this year to power up your knowledge and connections. Book now at sharepointeurope.com/European Power Platform Conference and use the code EPPC23 at checkout to get 30% off. The ESPC 23 call for speakers is now officially open. Be part of something truly special. Speak and engage with leading experts, IT professionals, developers, and business decision makers at ESPC 23, Europe's premier Microsoft 365 and Azure conference. This is your chance to take a leading role within the conference and community, sharing your in-depth knowledge, passion, and experience with your peers, in turn helping empower the Microsoft 365 and Azure community professionals' success. Please visit sharepointeurope.com/submit to speak ESPC to find out more. After the webinar, we will have a questions and answers session. Type any questions you might have into the questions window. Questions will be selected and answered at the end of the presentation. This webinar will be recorded and added to the Resource Centre, where you will be notified by email when it is available. And now I'm going to pass you over to our webinar presenter, Sofie. Hello, Sofie.
Hello, everyone. So can you confirm that you can see my screen?
Yeah, we can see that, Sofie.
Perfect. Then welcome everyone to the webinar, Enable Everyone to Innovate with Low Code. My name is Sofie Borck Janeheim, and I work as a technical specialist focusing on low code at Microsoft. And in this webinar, we will look at what it is, why it is relevant, and why every organization should establish a low-code strategy with Fusion team development. But before jumping into the presentation, I'm just shortly going to introduce myself. So before joining Microsoft, I worked as a programming teacher, and I was working for an organization that had a goal to close the skills gap, since we forecasted that by 2022, we would lack more than 70,000 developers just in Sweden. And notice that the number I just shared with you is from last year. and we are seeing an even bigger gap today. And I will soon share those numbers with you as well. So even though I enjoyed sharing my knowledge and skills within coding, I realized that it was difficult to teach everyone how to code, and not everyone wants to learn how to code. And then starting at Microsoft and meeting all the organizations and companies out there, from small municipalities in the northern parts of Sweden to big global well-known companies, it was quite clear that many of them were facing the same challenges. They needed to automate processes, they had legacy applications slowing down their businesses, and often they also had a huge backlog of requests from the business on what they wanted to have. And also, when not being able to meet those demands, shadow IT becomes a huge issue. And we will not be able to teach everyone to code. So what if we stop trying to teach everyone to code, and instead we turn everyone who wants into a developer with low code? And then I also want to share that what is it with low code that I really like. So I would say that I'm quite bad at writing code. I can do it, but it takes time and it's not optimized at all. And it wasn't applied either. It was quite theoretical. So when I found Power Apps, which was the first Power Platform tool that I got introduced to, it was love by first sight. So I could now build things easier, faster, and things just worked. I didn't have to sit there for hours with a single error trying to debug it. So that's how I found low code. But we are seeing the challenges out there with organizations trying to do more with less. And organizations are embracing change and leveraging modern solutions to combat the effects of present-day pandemic. However, technological transformation for most companies has been slow. And one reason is that building every solution from scratch is not feasible to keep up with the current technological growth and momentum because of trends that we are seeing here. So these are the 4 key trends that we will go through. And the first one that I just talked about with the lack of developers in Sweden, that's global. So tech talent limitations. So while the demand for new applications increases by the day, the tech world faces a talent shortage. 86% of organizations has been saying that they struggle to find technical talent, and the demand for mobile applications is growing at a faster rate than IT departments can deliver. And here we see the number. So 4 million developers shortfall globally by 2025, I think it is. So that is many developers lacking. And then we also have the part that ground up software development takes time. So building software and systems from scratch is time consuming, that we know, and building it in-house requires several considerations and is easier said than done in the short run. So although you have full control over how the software functions, there are high monetary costs associated with building and maintenance of homegrown software. And furthermore, there are opportunity costs to consider what other aspects of your business could potentially benefit from the precious internal resources that you are planning to dedicate on in-house venture, and the time it will take before you can actually make headway with your goals for what this in-house software can do for you. And the third trend that we are seeing is the surging digital demand. So the demand for digital technology has surged over the past few years, and the pandemic has only heightened the need for solutions that are faster, simpler, and easily available. And the need for tech-savvy solutions exists across all sectors and industries. And businesses need better systems to make sense of their data, to utilize applications that streamline their operations, and to better employee support and customer service. However, it's becoming hard for businesses to resolve these issues with in-house solutions to all of these problems. And then last but not least, maybe the most important one, is the security and compliance risks. So most of all, building software in-house brings with it a host of security and compliance considerations and investments to ensure the applications run seamlessly and face no regulatory problems, hack, or data breach threats. So the need for digital resilience has never been clearer. And companies that embrace technological changes and adopt low-code transformation will continue to grow. But then the question is low-code something for you? And it doesn't matter if you work in a factory or a contact center or the finance department or at NASA. Power Platform is for you. It is built for everyone. So developers, office workers, and other billion workers out there. With low code, we will be able to lower the threshold for more people to solve their own business challenges and build their own solutions. But now you might think that we're talking about low code as it was something new. Low code isn't something new, actually, because if we're looking a couple of years back, we're seeing these products and tools. Maybe you are recognizing some of them. So looking at where we started, it was with low code 1.0. And here we had technology that gave us fragmented files. Data was stored in spreadsheets and small DBs, creating data silos. However, almost everyone could use it, even amateurs. And at this time, these tools were definitely single-player tools. You worked by yourself in them without any collaboration. And then if we move on a couple of years, we see low code 2.0, where we mostly focused on single point solutions that was great for the specific scenario, but it was sometimes difficult to get a full overview. And this could almost be comparable to shadow IT, and it was also creating data islands. And to use these tools, we needed specialists. And collaboration was not something you did within the tools, since they were built as single-player solutions as well. And then we're moving on to where we are today. So today we are at low code 3.0. And in here we have managed environments where the IT admins have full control over everything that is built, the users, the data, and every tool in the platform is connected. So it doesn't matter if you are building an app or an automation or a bot, there are no complex integrations between the tools in the process. And since this platform is a platform for both amateurs and specialists, fusion development teams gets relevant. And when collaborating in cross-disciplinary teams, collaboration gets crucial. And that's why it is built as multiplayer collaboration apps. So what is then in the toolbox? The Power Platform is what brings us together. So there are 5 different pieces, but all part of a single unifying vision. So whether you like to use no code, purely visual development, or if you prefer using low code by mixing in some expressions, maybe some PowerFX or DAX or M, or if you want to use pro code by dropping into JavaScript or calling functions and features in Azure, you are welcome to use the Power Platform. Here you can easily analyze, act, and automate anything at work. And just before we go deeper into the different tools in the platform, so if you already use a bunch of these, then thank you. But if you only use one of these, then you should definitely make a plan to try out the others, because Power Platform is better when used together. So the first tool in the platform is Power BI, which is the most used self-service BI tool in the world and has been the runaway leader in a Gartner Magic Quadrants for years. And here it's easy for the users to turn insights into actions faster than ever with low-code analytics, and also infuse advanced analytics with artificial intelligence or embedding organization-wide reports, making it easy to take actions from your data. And then we have Power Apps, which is the most used product in the Power Platform family. And as I said in the beginning, the first tool in the platform that I got introduced to. And here it's super easy to jumpstart your application development without the need of thinking of what device the user is going to use. It just works regardless of if you are on a desktop or on a mobile or a touchpad. And when starting building a Power App, you could start from templates, or you can start from an image nowadays. So just upload how you want the design to look like, and the app skeleton will be created for you. Or you can start from a data source or from scratch. And this makes it much easier to build faster apps. And this will reduce app backlog, since this takes hours or days instead of weeks or months or years, which some projects often take. And it's easy to scale your apps confidently. It's easy to share for both collaboration and for use. And then we're looking at the third component in the platform, which is Power Automate, which is the main automation platform choice for many companies today. And it's covering cloud automation, digital process automation, all the way to robotic process automation. And here we're talking both unattended, attended, and hosted RPA bots, where we take care of the virtual machines in the background and you just need to focus on the process. But it also includes tools for business process management and process mining and task mining. So regardless of how your process looks like, you will be able to handle it within one tool without the need of switching between different platforms and managing complex integrations. And this will boost the user productivity and make it easy to automate at scale. And today I looked it up this morning, so we had the correct number, because we always say that it's easy to break down data silos with Power Automate because we have so many connectors. And you might have been in a Power Platform presentation earlier, and then you know that we have a lot of connectors. And this morning it was 913 to be exact. And then we have Power Virtual Agents. That makes it easy to build chatbots or conversation experiences, and it's powered by AI. And this makes it easier to rapidly build intelligent bots. And since it's part of the broader Power Platform, you can use it to automate through conversations, because you want to have transactional bots today that can actually perform tasks for you. And then it doesn't matter in the background if you connect to a legacy or a modern data source. For the user, it will work seamlessly right in the chat. And here we're also talking about building without any limits. And it's easy for the users to collaborate between citizen devs and pro developers in the same tool, since it's built up on Azure. So when you are here in the low-code canvas, you can just mention a pro developer in the comments, and then they go in there. They can just start writing code right from within Power Virtual Agents, and then answer to the comment that, yeah, I'm done with the more complex logic that you asked for. Now you can continue building the conversation. That's really cool. And then easy to test and deploy. So here in the demo that we have on the screen, you can see that you can try it out immediately in the chat on the left side, while continue building in the canvas on the right side. And then last but not least, our newest addition, Power Pages, which is an easy way to build websites atop the Power Platform. And if you've been in the Power Platform low-code space for a while, you know that this was a part of Power Apps earlier, but it is now its own product. And it's because we wanted to highlight the product itself, and we know that it's important for many organizations to be able to rapidly build secure data-centric business websites. And this enables everyone to author these. And also, when building these, we can seamlessly manage security and governance while still being innovative and building fast. So this is our portfolio of low-code development tools. But looking at the broader pictures, we look at the portfolio of all our developer tools. So in this portfolio, we have GitHub, we have Azure, we have Visual Studio, and of course the Power Platform. And everything is built to work together in one integrated experience. So I usually say that it is not the technology stopping you from digitally transforming your organization. It is how we are structuring our teams and working together. So we need to find a strategy in how every developer, regardless of level of code, can build together. And this is where Fusion development gets really interesting. So we will really soon look at the definition on Fusion teams. So in 2017, Gartner responded to the rise in digital transformation initiatives and the growing presence of distributed digital delivery within a collaborative and multidisciplinary approach to application development. And it officially coined the term Fusion development. So Fusion development isn't a strict methodology, but rather an approach that encourages and supports strategic, rapid software development. And we have had the privilege of observing Microsoft customers over the last few years who have successfully set up Fusion teams. And in those scenarios, there are critical stakeholders and roles involved in each team to foster the Fusion development approach. And some of these stakeholders may have had little IT or coding experience in the past, but this process can empower them and tap into their specific business expertise to create transformational business solutions. And there are 5 types of roles and functions on the Fusion team that we see is crucial here. So first of all, we are looking at the strategic Fusion development champion. And this is often a CIO who is driven to solve major company-wide strategic objectives. And then we have the professional development oversight lead. And this is usually an IT professional who brings technical expertise and plays the role of Fusion team lead. And these IT pros may also include security experts and DevOps. And the third role in this team is the governance and security lead. And this is often also an IT professional who is responsible for ensuring that data access is secure and that both business domain experts and pro developers use and follow the governance processes set up. And these IT pros may also include security experts and DevOps. And then we have the people building stuff in the Fusion development teams. So first we have the business users or makers, and usually a business function leader who thinks innovatively about digital progress and has creative ideas. But this person is not a coder from the beginning. And then we have the people who are the traditional developers, so professional developers. And this is typically a developer who is comfortable with complex code who handles custom connectors and components, and helps co-author development of the more advanced functionalities in the solutions. And the journey to fusion development won't be the same for every organization. And before making the choice to adopt this framework, it's important to understand that there is often a significant investment upfront, and it may take time for the results to be realized. And here we will walk you through 5 phases where we see organizations take on their road to thriving as a fusion development team. So the first phase that you see here is the initiation phase. And it can often start with a challenge in an organization's current process, or by identifying a need that fusion development is going to address. And this can begin with an assessment of a current or a planned traditional app, and determine if they can be built more efficiently using fusion development approach with Power Platform. So while we see organizations tackle fusion development from a purposeful, executive-embraced approach, we have also seen organizations organically find themselves in early, and in some cases unplanned, stages of fusion development adoption. So no matter how your organization ignites this process, it is crucial to get executive sponsorships from operations and tech leaders before moving forward. Because when CIOs are involved in this early phase, we see implementation success. And CIO support in assessing which application is the right choice for the business is crucial in setting up the team for success. So once the process has been set in motion, the champion of the fusion development efforts are identified and the foundation is set. So moving on to the next phase, which is the preparation phase. And once you have a plan for fusion development in place, you can begin defining a foundation, starting roles and responsibilities of your fusion team. And the IT pros can also start creating a center of excellence, the COE. And this is a program to guide and nurture growth of Power Platform development, including the fusion team development, while maintaining governance and control through managed environments and other related security and data protection policies. And this step is vital in protecting your organization from tech debt, which can happen when development moves quickly at the cost of accuracy and thoroughness. So as IT pros set up these environments, makers can use resources and trainings to set themselves up with the appropriate level of expertise to help them thrive in these controlled environments when they are ready. And then we move on to the third phase, collaboration. And I've been mentioning collaboration many times through these 20 minutes that we have been here now. And collaboration is important. And this phase focuses on collaborating seamlessly, where each team member is focused on their area of expertise and can avoid creating any obstacles or delays for other team members. So through this approach, the fusion team develops the initial build of their application, which is typically smaller in scope and functionality as the teams get up to speed. And one of the many benefits of fusion development is often realized in this phase, as the teams achieves rapid deployment and real-time iterations, while mitigating the gaps between business requirements and development. Because if we're looking at projects that we have done previously, we know that there are sometimes gaps between business requirements and what we actually deliver in the end. So it's really good that we iterate through this early in the development process. And then we have the fourth phase, which is acceleration. So once your team hits the acceleration phase, all the learnings from your team's journey come together to create and scale the fusion team's best practices in your organization. So the framework the Fusion teams has developed can be replicated to develop similar projects and applications throughout your full enterprise. And at this point, the conversation can be widened to field and collect new ideas for apps or new ideas for automations or bots or other solutions. And the focus during this phase should be to celebrate your team and the work they built together, and to be a catalyst for inspiration for even more Fusion built applications, including broader business critical applications, of course, as well. And the same DevOps processes previously used to create mission critical apps can also now be applied to apps built in Power Platform. And then we're looking at last and final phase in this maturity model of Fusion team development, which is innovation. So the final phase in the maturity model comes when a team has realized competitive advantage driven by their efforts, and the responsibility of innovating new applications under this framework is distributed across the enterprise as a proven method for accelerating digital transformation. And makers have grown in their confidence, and they are empowered to continue contributing to the development of mission critical apps with quality assurance. And pro devs and IT pros have created secured environments for business critical apps to continue driving this type of innovation forward. So these are the 5 phases of full realization of benefits for Fusion team development. And here we also see the roles that we mentioned on the previous slide, which are the key drivers in each of the steps. And this, I think, is important to remember, that there are many people involved in this, but as you can see, it's important that they are in the full journey of the development. So how could it look like then when we are going to build a solution together with Fusion team development? So we will look at how it could look like when a Fusion team collaborates on building the flagship app, the first one. So the first step is when the business identifies a need for a solution that solves a key problem that they have. And in this case, they would like an app for all their users in the enterprise to manage a new process for a line of business application that needs to roll out the next month. So they don't have much time. They need to be able to build this fast, and it must be easy. And the app needs to be performant and also easy to find for end users, so that they can start using it in this new process. And when this is done, the request comes to the IT professionals managing the intake process from the business segment. So when they get this new request, they first need to identify what are the requirements for the app, and also identify if it will require new services in Azure to support how the application works. And next, they need to identify a team of professional developers to build the services. And in this case, they need to deliver faster, and there aren't enough developers to deliver the full experience in just 1 month. So next, they go to the business, and here they pull in the key leads managing the process, who are already also using Power Platform in their work. And these people, they become the citizen developers on the project. And last, they identify how the app and service will be managed and assign an IT professional to help manage the process of delivery, and then also the ongoing maintenance of the solution. So going forward, we will look at who is doing what in the process of finalizing this app. So if we first start by looking at the pro developer. So the pro dev starts with the tooling of choice, because this should not change their way of working. They should be able to continue coding in the way they want. So they can choose between if they want to do it in Visual Studio Code, GitHub code spaces. And in this scenario, the developers chose to use Visual Studio to build a function in Azure Functions for the new service in the flagship app. And the first need is to interact with data from a legacy system in the enterprise. So it's a system that they own. And to get this data out of the legacy system, they will write a function in Azure. And they will distribute the function as an API in Azure API management for ease of use and the ongoing management of this API as well. And once they are happy with the development of the API, they'll export it as a custom connector to the Power Platform directly from within Azure API management. So they don't need to leave their tool. And the connector is now available from within Power Platform as well. So their work here is done. And then they can hand over to a citizen developer on the project team and tag them that the Power Platform connector is ready to go. So while the pro devs were working on the connector and services in Azure, the citizen devs have already started building the user interface and the user experience in Power Apps based on their own requirements, working directly with their own business stakeholders as well, so to make sure that the app looks the way they want. And the citizen devs have decided to split up the work and work together in the same app using commentary and collaboration that is just the same experience as they have in the other Office tools. So if they want to mention someone, they just write a comment, making sure that they are on the same page when it comes to developing the application. And then one citizen developer in the team has decided to use components in the Power Apps for showing the data from the Azure service. So the citizen dev comments to another citizen developer on the project that it's done, and they can now plug in the connector from the professional developers because it's ready to go. But sometimes you get stuck anyway. So if the citizen developer gets stuck, they can just tag the professional developer on the project in the comments for them to help. So after they reply, the citizen developer now knows how to do it and they are unblocked and ready to go. And not all functions need to be within Azure. So some of the citizen developers may also add additional logic to the app. And here they can decide to use, for example, PowerFX to build something much more quickly. And in this case, it's not even code that they need to write because this function is PowerFX and it was from the open source community. So they didn't have to come up with the function themselves. And then last but not least, the second citizen developer has decided to put the app on the app stores for iOS and Android because their business stakeholders want this to be really easy to find for the end users. So with just a few clicks, they are done with that and saved the app and got it published. So now the app is ready for use in the full enterprise within the time limit of 1 month. And this is really what team sports look like. This shows that low code is a team sport because they would never have been able to build a solution in time if they only used their pro developers. They needed their citizen developers from the business to be able to deliver this product within 1 month. And they would never have been able to build a custom connector using Azure API management and reaching the data from the legacy system without the professional developers. And the ones who made it possible, the heroes from IT, who set up the environments and the governance processes that made it possible for these two teams to work together. So this is what collaboration and low code as a team sport looks like. And that was everything that I was going to present today, covering low code, what is in the platform, what are the different tools, and how does Fusion development look like. So thanks everyone for listening, thanks for joining, and let's go to the Q&A if you have any questions. And if you don't have any question, I can just highlight what I said in the beginning, that if you only have been using one or two of the tools in the Power Platform, make a plan on how to use the others, because the Power Platform is really better when used together. And also, if you are planning on a more complex project, don't be scared because it's Azure behind it, because it integrates really well and it's easy to both build the custom components, line of business applications. And we also see many cases where we are infusing artificial intelligence and machine learning from the Azure Cognitive Services into our Power Platform solutions. So that is a space where you should definitely look into.
Thanks, Sophie, for a great presentation. It was really informative, and it was great to learn about how anyone in any role can easily innovate and solve business problems using low-code products and tools. Now, a lot of people have been wondering if the slide deck is going to be shared. If you could email that to me after the Q&A, I would be able to share it with today's attendees alongside the webinar recording, if that would be possible.
Of course.
Please, Sophie.
Of course.
Great. Thanks a million. So now we're going to get into the questions and answers part. So should you wish to ask a question, please type it into the questions window now. So our first question today, someone asks, hi, I'm finding it hard to find a developer. What do you think we can do to entice more developers into the market?
So repeating the question, how you should attract more developers to your organization?
Yes.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's a really difficult question because, as I said, there is a talent shortage, so it's difficult to get them to your company. And here I think it's we need to look at a culture, because when you can pick and choose from wherever you want to work, you are looking at the culture of the company and what is your mission, and are you sharing the same vision? So company culture and inclusion, I would say, is the most important part to attract at least young developers.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Sophie. Now we have another user asking here, besides of what was presented, do you have any practical tips on how to start with citizen developer in a big company?
Yes, there are so much content online. I could actually add an additional slide in the end of my presentation with additional reading and links. There are many ebooks focusing on Fusion development. There are best practices on how to get started with the Power Platform, setting up the governance and the data and security policies. And if you prefer looking at videos, there are a lot of good videos at YouTube as well that you can continue looking at. So I can add that as a last slide in the presentation with additional reading and learning. Did we have any more questions? So if you don't have any more questions, I guess we are done here.
We have another question here, Sofie.
Yeah, okay.
So someone is asking, do you have any advice on how to give a monetary value to the apps that citizen developers have produced in terms of the ROI that the Power Platform delivers?
Yes. So it was just a couple of, was it weeks ago or months ago that we released the new total economic impact report from Forrester, showing exactly that. I don't have the numbers in my head, but in the report, we'll add it on the last slide in my presentation that I will share with you later. There are numbers on how much faster you can develop, the reduce of cost compared to traditional development, but also numbers like reduce of shadow IT, reduce of human errors when doing process and task manually instead of automating them, etc. And of course, the return of investment over a 3 years period. I will not get the number right now because then I will probably say it wrong, but we have new numbers on that just came out.
Brilliant, Sofie, thank you. Now, another question here is, what programming language is the most important for Power Platform app development?
It is of course PowerFX, because PowerFX is the built-in programming language that you use within all the tools in Power Platform to add additional logic. And PowerFX is quite new, a couple of years now, and it reminds of Excel formulas. So if you have been writing Excel formulas before, then PowerFX will be easy to learn. But that is also another great news that came some years ago now, but now it's on the agenda for everyone, and that is OpenAI. Because in the Power Platform, we have already integrated to the OpenAI model GPT-3, which helps users to write these formulas. So in Power Apps and in Power Automate, you can actually, with natural language, explain what you want to do. So if you, for example, is going to format a date, you can write the date as an example, and then it will generate the code back to you in PowerFX. Or if you have a long list of data, for example, if we are talking about healthcare, you have a list of nurses and you're looking for nurses in a specific hospital with the specific competence, then you just write all the nurses at this hospital with this competence, and then the code in PowerFX will be generated back to you, which is really great because that is also lowering the threshold for people who have not been written code before. So that's good. And also, as I said in the example, the Power Platform community is huge. So just search for the code syntax if you're missing something, and you will probably find the code snippet somewhere online, so you can just copy and paste it into your solution. But otherwise, I would say if you have any previous coding experience, PowerFX is super easy to learn.
Brilliant, thanks so much, Sofie. So we have another question here, and it says, what are your insights on using Microsoft Power Platform Center of Excellence Starter Kit?
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, so the question is, what are your insights on using Microsoft Power Platform Center of Excellence Starter Kit?
My insights on it is that it's really good. And if I were the admin of an organization, I would, it's necessary. It's crucial because you want to have the overview and the control in your environments. And with the Center of Excellence, you get so many pre-built stuff that can help you to govern and monitor and nurture your Power Platform makers. And one of my favorite features there is that, you can see exactly everything. You can see all the users, you can see all the data sources, and who are they sharing the applications or automations with, when and where are they using it. And this helps you as an IT admin as well to decide on, is this still something that is citizen development, or is this an application that is now more complex because that is used by so many users, or because it's using complex data sources. And in that case, it might be something that the IT should take ownership of, or if it should be more fusion development because the solution is so critical. And then there are also there are so many features and functions in the Center of Excellence Starter Kit, and it's I don't know how often it's updated, but it's updated really often, so it comes new features. But one other that is one of my favorites is the orphaned apps and flows, because this is always a question that you get: what happens if someone builds something and then they leave the company? And then there is a component in the Center of Excellence Starter Kit that actually manages this. So it detects all the orphaned apps and automations and make sure that it's given access to another user. So either if you want to give it to another user, or if you want to give it to IT to manage and take control over that solution. So you make sure you have no orphaned solutions running in your organization without an owner.
Brilliant, Sophie. Thanks so much. So we just have another question in here. What is the scope of the Power Platform in the future when compared to other programming languages like Python, ASP, .NET, etc.?
What is the scope of Power Platform compared to these?
Yes.
Yes. So I would say it's never just one or the other. It depends on how many developers do you have? Do you have the resources to build it in-house? Do you need to use your business users? And that's why we're talking about Fusion Teams development, because some things can be built faster within a low-code platform, and something still needs to be built with traditional code. So we will always need both when we're building complex organizational wide solutions. And as I said, if we want to infuse complex components, machine learning, we will probably use Python. Or if we are using API patterns, then we also need traditional developers writing these APIs and then packaging them as custom connectors for the low-code users to use. So we will have a need of both. But as I said, we're lacking 4 million developers by 2025 globally. So we will need people to help out with everything that can be built with low code.
Great, thank you, Sophie. So another person is asking how to integrate Microsoft Program to learn more about Power Platform and become professional in a region like Tunisia.
So how to connect to Microsoft to learn more and become a professional low-code developer?
Yes.
So that's the question. Yes, I don't have the link here, but search for the Skill Up program, because there are programs now on how to change your career path and skill up within low code. And then also there are a lot of free learning online. So on Microsoft Learn, I don't know how many hours of Power Platform learning there is, but it's a lot. So start learning and search for it. I don't remember the exact name, but there is a ramp-up program for business users who want to change career path and start as a low-code developer.
Great, thanks, Sophie. We have another question here. How do you coordinate the release process of Pro and Citizen Developer?
Yeah, so something that is in preview right now is the ALM accelerator, and this is something that everyone should look up at the documentation, because this will be crucial. But it's built on the same strategy as how you use Azure DevOps and the pipelines there. So it is not anything different when using low code. And that is why it's possible to have fusion team development, because we can continue having the same processes that we have in traditional development, but just add the components of low code into it.
Great, thanks, Sophie. So another question in here asking, how do we prevent citizen developers from going rogue and doing stuff beyond the scope of developers?
The Center of Excellence, and not only then the starter kit, so the Center of Excellence, the people working with the governance and the security and the data loss prevention policies. And this is just like before starting or when starting, make sure that you have governance in place. You have a strategy for your environments in your tenant. You have first of all, the default environment where every user can access and build. And of course, that should be the most restricted environment since everyone can access it. So maybe there you should only have the standard connectors and the things that you do within M365. And then you have maybe a but a power user environment, and then you have more critical environments for your professional developers or critical or complex projects. And then after setting up the environment strategy, you need to combine it with data loss prevention policies, making sure that in each environment you can use the data connectors, data sources that the users are supposed to use. And this is also developed really much in the last couple of years. So now you can also, looking at all the 913 connectors, when setting up the data loss prevention policies, you can also do it more granularly now. So you can look at which actions should be available for this connector in this environment for these users. So it takes a little bit of time, but it's worth it when you have it in place. So the users can be how creative they want, but still be creative within a safe space where you as the IT admin can see and govern and monitor it all.
Great, thank you, Sophie. So another question here is asking, could you recommend any further reading, more specifically cookbooks, so that one could play with the Power Platforms?
Yes, there are a lot of ebooks. First of all, now there's an ebook on Fusion development. We'll add that to the slide in the end of my presentation. But then we also have the Power Platform workshops in a day. So you can either read the content yourself or go through a training on Power Apps in a day, RPA in a day, bot in a day, etc., where you step by step build multiple scenarios, trying out all the different tools. So that's a tip for me.
Thanks, Sophie. Another person is asking, PowerFX and security, are these secure platforms?
Yes, security is built into the platform. And this you can read much more about in our documentation pages, of course. But Microsoft, if we're looking from a global perspective, Microsoft is the biggest security company in the world, looking at the numbers on how much we are investing into security. So everything that is in the platform is secured by the same standards that all the products at Microsoft have.
Thanks, Sophie. So another person is asking, they said, thanks for your presentation. I would like to know which is the preferred path for a citizen developer training.
If you're looking at the pre-made path that you can find on Microsoft Learn, there is a training path for PL 900, which is the certification for a citizen developer, the first certification for the Power Platform, PL 900. And the learning path that is connected to that one is a really good start.
Great, thank you, Sophie. So someone else is asking, do you have any tips for coding standards using the Power Apps?
That is a really difficult question to answer now in just a couple of seconds. I would say look at Microsoft documentation, look at the Microsoft Mechanics channel at YouTube, and get the inspiration from there.
Brilliant, Sophie. Just another question here. Can Power Apps handle large data sets? Are there any limitations?
So what the built-in, so Power Apps by its nature can have any data source at all, like any data source in the background. It's just like what you choose to connect it to. And the built-in data platform is Dataverse. And in the background of Dataverse, we have Azure. So it should be able to scale efficiently.
Great, thank you, Sophie. So that's all of our questions today, and just apologies for the brief silence earlier on. I was just having a little bit of trouble with my mic. So on behalf of the ESPC community, Sophie, thank you for taking the time today to carry out this webinar. We really do appreciate it.
Yes, and thank you for inviting me, and thank you everyone for listening and for all your good questions. Looking forward to connecting again.
Great, so this is the end of today's webinar. Please find this webinar and more at sharepointeurope.com/resource center. Thank you for joining us today. Take care and goodbye.
Bye.